Coming up on Market Shares, Hollywood writers returning to work. We'll break down the tentative deal between them and the studios.
Plus, House Republicans on the clock. Disagreements in the People's Chamber are threatening to shut down the government this weekend. See what the holdup is next.
And the three major indexes closing mixed this week. We'll have a look at our market update in just a few minutes, but hold on to your wallets because Market Shares starts right now. Good afternoon and welcome into Market Shares. I'm Bradley Hoppenstein.
And I'm Peter Elliott. Bradley, what a week it has been, both on Wall Street and in Washington. And we saw one strike resolved in Hollywood, but still plenty more strikes going on across the country.
President Biden hopping on the UAW picket line. We'll get to that in just a moment. But the big story this week, Peter, that looming government shutdown. Why don't we start there?
Yeah, that is truly pretty much the only thing we can talk about in Washington and again on Wall Street. The clock is ticking. Now the government has just over 24 hours to reach a deal here, Bradley. At this point, it looks like there's some sort of short-term funding bill that will be passed to avoid it. The government shuts down, though, if Congress can't agree to pass 12 appropriations bills to fund it each fiscal year. The Republican-controlled House and Democrat-controlled House can't agree on these. They're looking to pass a continuing resolution to keep the government open with its last-minute budget cuts.
The current holdup is in the far-right corner of the House, where representatives like Florida's Matt Gaetz are refusing to vote with Kevin McCarthy to avoid the shutdown. Republicans are divided on a short-term stopgap bill that would fund the government through October 31st. Over a dozen representatives oppose the bill, which in the narrow GOP majority would be enough to sink the legislation. Take a listen to what the Florida representative had to say to McCarthy about the looming deadline.
September 30th is rapidly approaching, and you have not put us in a position to succeed. There is no way to pass all the individual appropriations bills now, and it's not like we didn't know when September 30th was going to show up on the calendar.
President Biden also making a historic visit to Michigan to walk the picket line with striking auto workers. This is the first time, Bradley, a president has joined the picket line on the side of the union. UAW walked out against the big three automakers, GM, Chrysler, and Stellantis. Those workers demanding an increase in pay, annual cost of living adjustments, and a 4-day work week, among other benefits they're also asking for. President Biden called Friday on the auto workers to improve their offer to ensure the workers receive their fair share of rising profits. UAW President Shawn Fain said on Friday that proposals from the big three automakers have not addressed 80% of the UAW's demands. Biden commented on the negotiations saying, quote, "Companies have made significant offers, but I believe it should go further to ensure record corporate profits mean record contracts," end quote. He then expressed his support on Tuesday as he encouraged workers holding the line. Take a listen.
You made a lot of sacrifices. You gave up a lot, and the companies were in trouble. But now they're doing incredibly well. And guess what? You should be doing incredibly well too.
Well, writers have a deal, but actors, Peter, they're still on hold. The Screen Actors Guild and major studios, they're going to resume negotiations on a new labor contract on Monday. With the writers' tentative deal, there's hope for a new actors contract, but we don't really know where they stand. Luckily, we have Dominic Chapone, who will be joining us in just a moment with all the latest on the state of the industry. But Peter, we've seen these strikes, I mean, not just in the entertainment industry, but we talk about the auto workers, we talk about airlines over the summer. There's been strikes across the board, and I think that speaks to where our economy is at the moment.
Really, Bradley, it seems like there's a great sense of collective solidarity here across the American labor movement. And Dom, you've had some more on SAG-AFTRA going on in Hollywood. What is the sense that out there in Hollywood about where that strike is right now?
Bradley and Peter, in a joint statement on Wednesday, both sides announced negotiations will formally resume this Monday on a new labor deal. Now, these negotiations represent a major step forward to address compensation for writers and give the major entertainment companies progress on resuming their production. Now, for context, the union, which is Writers Guild of America, began their strike on May 2nd, nearly 4 months ago to this day, before the Actors Union allied with the writers in mid-July. SAG-AFTRA and the writers sought a larger share of the revenue pie from the entertainment industry, increased base compensation, improved working conditions, and stricter safeguards against artificial intelligence. Now, SAG-AFTRA released this statement on Wednesday confirming that the union will meet on Monday with executives of the Alliance of Motion Pictures and Television Producers to begin bargaining negotiations on Monday. Now, for context, the AMPTP represents some of the largest entertainment companies in the U.S., like Paramount and Walt Disney Studios, to Netflix, NBC, and ABC. Now, according to NBC News, the new agreement would increase base compensation for the writers by 5% this year, 4% 2 years from now, and then 3% or 3.5%, pardon me, 3 years from now. Now, it also improves pensions and health care, adds performance-based bonuses based on streaming, and creates new rules about AI regulation. Now, to clarify, official terms still need to be publicly released for the writers and the companies, and as with any negotiation between unions, members of SAG-AFTRA would still need its members to vote on this new agreement to authorize the new terms. Lastly, keep in mind that the actors remain without a deal of any kind as of today. The progress, however, means we are walking the early steps toward ending the first dual strike between writers, actors, and the entertainment industry since 1960. And following months of uncertainty on both sides of the aisle, Bradley and Peter, this new agreement seems to be heading in the right direction, meeting the demand of the writers while at the same time production resuming for the entertainment industry.
All right, Tom, so finally it seems like some progress being made in Hollywood after months of seemingly a stalemate. So based on these new reported terms for an agreement, did the writers get the demands they originally sought when they struck in the first place?
I think when you look at all the reporting in the past 2 or 3 months, the biggest goal, obviously, I think, was honestly addressing the artificial intelligence, because given the rapid growth of that industry, there was a need to create some sort of regulation for the writers. And obviously, I think the other one is the not only just increasing the base compensation, but providing bonuses, particularly for the streaming industry. The writers are basically saying if a product is successful, they wanted more money out of it from the companies. And I think that's why the actors remain on hold right now, because if you're an actor or an actress, you're probably in that same boat. So obviously this is a starting point, but of course there's still a lot more little details that need to be negotiated over the next few weeks.
Dom, I want to ask you, it looks like momentum's really been picking up these last few weeks. What's changed over the last few weeks that it seems like we might actually get a deal now?
I think if you're looking at it at first, it was kind of a stalemate between both sides. Obviously, if you were the companies, you had the leverage at first because you had so much content. And then I think after a few months, that content ran out. And if you're these companies, especially particularly on the streaming side of things, you are shelling out millions of dollars to fund these productions. And when you look at a company like Disney with Marvel, where they had all of these plans lined up, and now all of a sudden you see that start to affect when there are delays in, for instance, movies coming out, that really burns a hole in a pocket like a Disney or an Amazon or a Netflix. So I think what you're seeing is that eventually the studios wanted to cave in. I think both sides wanted to get a deal done, and we're definitely seeing that progress, I think, based off this latest reporting.
All right, Dom, thank you. It actually seems like a pretty fair deal. It seems like the writers are getting what they want, a little more revenue from streaming, a little more pensions.
Sure. You know, it does seem like the writers are happy with this deal. It didn't seem like there'd be that kind of agreement between the two sides because they were so far apart in the initial stages, but it seems like both sides are happy. We'll see if the actors can find a similar place.
Yeah, streaming being the key in this deal. Well, if you're on the internet, you remember net neutrality? It's looking like it might come back, Peter. The government's looking to bring back those sweeping regulations for the big internet providers like AT&T, Comcast, Verizon, all the big players. So what's being proposed right now from the FCC would ban those providers from blocking or slowing down access to websites and online content. The government would also block them from speeding up service on favored websites or ones that pay them extra fees. I didn't even know that's a thing. They're paying the providers more fees?
Right.
So these are mostly Obama-era regulations that were rolled back under the Trump administration. And if the past is any tell, we can expect pushback from those internet providers. We've seen them in court fighting over these kinds of things for years. Doesn't look like it's going to stop.
No, Bradley, I remember when this was kind of the big story on the internet. It was like apocalyptic in 2018, 2019, back when Ajit Pai was in charge of the FCC. And now it seems like we're coming back to this story again. We'll see what the resolution here is.
People were taking tough stances on this not too long ago, and it looks like we're probably heading that same direction.
We're back to it once again. The cycle continues here. Well, Costco reporting quarterly earnings that topped Wall Street expectations on Tuesday, beating expectations even though their shoppers came to the store less this quarter. The Superstore has gained momentum in the past 3 years because of their membership program. The retailer has gotten more of its members to jump on pricier memberships as well. The higher tier option is $120 on the annual basis. The highest tier now accounts for just under half of all paid memberships for the company. The Superstore beat revenue by $1 billion in the fourth quarter of 2023. How's that for some Kirkland brand success, Bradley?
You know, I'll take that. that. I'm a Kirkland guy. I'm a Costco member. I exclusively get my gas at Costco. I think that sounds pretty good to me, Pete. Take this one for a spin. Peloton and Lululemon are teaming up, announcing a 5-year partnership this week that actually sounds pretty mutually beneficial. Peloton will be bringing their content to Lululemon's exercise app, and Lulu will become Peloton's primary athletic apparel partner. Some of Peloton's instructors will also be brought in as ambassadors for the retailer. The partnership is the first time Peloton is sharing its popular content with another company. But Lulu's app has about 13 million members, which is nearly double Peloton's global count. So pretty even deal. And looking at Peloton stock on the week, it jumped up about 15% on the news. Lulu looking pretty flat.
Bradley, that's a big deal for Lululemon because I know they've signed a lifetime deal with you. So they are the official outfitter of Bradley Hoppenstein.
I hope they're watching this and that deal actually comes my way, Peter.
It might. Well, that could be a huge contract. Nike and Jordan, Bradley Hoppenstein, and Lululemon. Well, if you resold a Taylor Swift concert ticket recently, you might have some bad blood, get it? Bad blood, with the IRS. A new law has been introduced to combat ticket resellers. The regulations known as the 600 rule says that anyone who made over $600 through companies including Venmo, Ticketmaster, or StubHub will now have to report those earnings to the IRS. The previous threshold for tax reporting sat at $20,000. The change comes after an influx in high-selling events this past summer that sparked a conversation on how scalpers were exploiting fans. Some tickets for Swift's Eras tour were selling for upwards of tens of thousands of dollars.
Jeez, and it's crazy because I know a ton of people that went to the tour, and I was like, where are you getting this money from? For Taylor Swift? Where's that coming from? The Swift effect continuing this past weekend with the 12-time Grammy winner attending the Kansas City Chiefs game last Sunday. And of course, the rumors have been swirling that her and tight end Travis Kelce are dating. But Swift's attendance sent Kelce's jersey sales up 400%. And the broadcast got some extra viewers as well, being the most watched game of the week with just under 25 million viewers. That's incredible, Peter. You get the Swifties watching football, all of a sudden sales are up, viewers are up. It's incredible.
There really is nothing like the Swift effect right now in media. It's pretty remarkable.
We got to teach them the rules of football now.
Yes, they seem like they're learning. It's pretty cool. What a collab there, NFL fans and Swifties.
Yeah, let's get to politics. Federal agencies are cracking down on some tech giants in the courtroom.
Two major players in the online space are being sued for anti-competitive practices. Here with the details on that lawsuit is our market shares political analyst Luke Radel. Luke, who is in the hot seat in this lawsuit?
Hey there, Peter and Bradley. Earlier this week, the Federal Trade Commission announced that its fourth and largest lawsuit will be against Amazon under the Sherman antitrust laws. Now, these laws were passed all the way back in 1890 when the Amazon was just this. But now, according to the FTC, Amazon is a monopolist. Quote, it exploits its monopolies in ways that enrich Amazon but harm its customers. As a part of their alleged monopoly, Amazon has bought a plethora of recognizable companies like the ones you see on your screen right now, meaning that when the delivery driver walks up to your door with a package from Amazon Prime while listening to an audiobook, hits the Ring doorbell to alert you to his presence, so you pause the Twitch stream you're watching and put down your veggie straws from Whole Foods to retrieve your shoes from Zappos, that entire exchange is brought to you by Jeff Bezos. And the companies that Amazon couldn't buy, well, they just put them out of business. Remember Toys R Us? Remember buying toys in actual stores? That is largely a thing of the past thanks to Amazon's anti-competitive practices. Their ability to box out all of their competitors gave sellers just one option for selling their products. As one seller is quoted in the FTC's lawsuit, quote, we have nowhere else to go, and Amazon knows it. The point? Convenience is a commodity in this day and age, and Amazon knows it. So does Google. In another government lawsuit, Google is alleged to have paid billions of dollars to companies like Amazon, Apple, Samsung, and Verizon to make Google the default search engine on your smartphone, blocking out the rest of its competition. The Department of Justice says Google uses that dominance to charge advertisers more for space on their site. Google defends itself by saying it's super easy to change your default browser. Here's their chief legal officer on CBS Mornings.
It really couldn't be easier. You can sit at home on your couch and change what search engine you're using. It's as easy as changing your shoes.
It's as easy as changing your shoes.
Well, we see lots of people doing.
And Bradley, Peter, I guess if it's as easy as changing your shoes, it makes no sense to me why they'd be spending billions of dollars to make Google your default footwear.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you there, Luke. Thank you for joining us at the desk. I want to ask you, politicians from Bernie Sanders to Donald Trump, they've been railing against these companies for years, but what's changed now that they're actually finally being held accountable?
Yeah, as I mentioned, the antitrust laws surrounding this entire incident were passed way back in the 1890s when the internet was in a much different place, non-existent at the time. And it seems as though our politicians today don't actually have a full and complete understanding of how the internet's business model actually works. Take a look at this viral exchange from 2018.
Well, if so, how do you sustain a business model in which users don't pay for your service?
Senator, we run ads.
All right, Luke, thank you so much.
Anytime, guys.
Well, markets just closing. We'll give you the market update on the week. Closing bell about 15 minutes ago. Stay with us.
He lives with anxiety, but with the help of this latest innovation from Be Normal, he can be normal, just like everyone else. With the swipe of a finger, you can project happiness, confidence, machismo. Why settle for being real when you can be normal? The Normal Maker, new from Be Normal. This item doesn't really work because there's no such thing as normal. We're all different. What we like, how our brains work. In fact, 1 in 5 of us live with mental illness. Don't filter who you are. Start by talking to someone you trust. And remember, there is no normal.
They said a bottle was just a bottle. That no one would ever notice me. But I knew I could be more. That one day, I would make people smile.
Here we go. We're gonna go out there in the rain. You're gonna get wet. All right, here we go. Okay, quick. Oh yeah, yes. So much fun. Mwah. We're getting so wet.
Markets closing just a few minutes ago on Wall Street. So let's take a look at how those three major indexes performed this week. And Bradley, another tough week for all three major indexes we saw last week. They were all down this week. Two down rather. The Nasdaq up.
Yeah, that's how it looks, Pete. We're up almost 1 point on the Nasdaq, but the Dow and the S&P, it looks like the strikes are really dragging them down. You could see that fluctuation in the middle of the week, but general decline, and it's not looking up for two of the three.
It seems like the major markets still are bracing for a potential government shutdown in Washington and over fears of potentially worse consumer spending and just a general slowdown in the economy. Also fears of inflation as always. So we'll see how that continues to impact the major markets. We bring in now Annie Claff to talk about our major movers of the week. And while it was down for a lot of the indexes, Annie, you had a stock that was really up on this week.
Yeah, not only up this week, but also up in the last 5 years, 80%. You can see a 3-year graphic showing just how impressive their rises have been, but also it's not very far from reaching an all-time high on Tuesday. This comes after lots of demand with construction and because of the Investment in Infrastructure Act passed in 2021. This came after lots of demand for construction and led to a spark of demand for construction because of the new funds for roads, bridges, and everything. And because of that, it's clearly a market leader, Caterpillar, in the construction world. And so they're taking the world by storm in that construction form.
It really is a juggernaut in that heavy machinery space, and especially like you mentioned, we've seen an explosion in construction post-pandemic. It's pretty remarkable. Their profit margins, Caterpillar's, they were good before the pandemic, 14%, now up to 21%. That's pretty remarkable. Is there any other company doing that, Annie?
No, Caterpillar is really just leading the charge here, especially because they've had the best summer sales since 2012 for the company to actually report those sales in this past quarter two. It was up 22% in the second quarter.
Well, that's an impressive showing there for that Illinois-based company, Caterpillar. Bradley, let's go to your mover of the week here.
Yeah, so let's put Workday up. Workday, obviously an HR technology provider. A lot of corporations use Workday, but the stock falling this week. the most it has since 2020. So it lost almost 15% in the past 4 weeks, and it's just continuing to tumble. Their outlook, they were expecting to grow the company about 20% over the next 3 years. They've lowered their outlook to 17 to 19%. And overall, the company says they're just not feeling good about the economy at the moment. They see a decline coming. They don't like the strikes. They don't like the looming shutdown. Workday taking a tumble this week, but not too bad.
Bradley, this is one of those companies that really flourished during the pandemic, right?
Absolutely. When it came to remote work and keeping employees on the payroll, Workday was needed across the board, and now it's one of those that's kind of taking a back seat as we continue to come out of the pandemic.
So more work to do for Workday. To my mover of the week, also down on the week and recently as well, that would be CarMax, the used car magnet of the industry. And it's been an interesting past couple of years for the used car market. It was huge, booming during the pandemic after production of new cars was really stalled due to shutdowns in manufacturing. But it really, used cars have the demand has slowed significantly in the last couple months here. That's due in part, of course, due to inflation and just lower consumer demand here. And we're really seeing that impact on the market here, guys.
Peter, we saw a huge spike in demand for cars during the pandemic, specifically used cars, and I think people are just catching up. They got them when the prices came down about a year ago, but now the demand's not really there. The prices are up, and that's not a good combination, obviously.
And you take a look at the average used car price for the month of August, it's $26,000. So in a world right now with all this inflation and high interest rates, not many people are going to want to afford that, especially for just used car.
And wages continuing to decline as well.
Definitely. So wages declining as well, and CarMax's share price falling as well. Annie, we'll see more of you later on in the show, but still coming up on market shares. Are your NFTs completely worthless just yet, or yours, Bradley?
Probably.
Well, it's only a matter of time. We'll find out. Stick ahead. Stick around.
The Clemson Tigers, and we enjoy that game.
Q's Countdown is live. We welcome you to a live edition of Q's Countdown.
Brand new year, time to right the wrong. Welcome to an excellent episode of Live from Studio B. Yeah.
All right, we're back now with an update on new ways airlines are pricing their tickets. Our transportation correspondent, Zach Richter, joins us in studio to explain. Good afternoon, sir.
Hey, Peter and Bradley. It's been about 5 years since we have last seen round-trip prices be cheaper than one-ways for domestic flights for airlines. Previously, they've just been doing what any consumer might think, just combining the price of both one-way flights and then making that the round-trip price. But now airlines are taking a new approach so you can stick with them for your entire trip. They're making round-trip tickets cheaper than the one-ways. We did some research into this, looking to the major airlines into the U.S. Delta and United are both using this new scheme. Domestically, Delta saw the biggest increase when doing separate one-way tickets instead of buying round-trip, with prices sometimes being near $250 extra. On United, we saw over an $100 increase if booked one way, and JetBlue, Southwest, and American are not using this scheme, at least yet. So to get the best value with your dollar for airline tickets for flights online, just make sure your flight is round trip instead of just searching one way. Peter, Bradley.
So Zach, this is all domestic, right?
Yeah, this is all domestic. So when you talk about airlines and international, they have been doing this for the past 10, 15 years. When you do international, flights, you look one way, you could find a one-way flight for $1,000, and then you look round trip, it could be $1,000 for both flights. So you look one way, and it could be $1,000. International is very different than domestic, and they're just starting to bring this back domestically.
Well, nothing to laugh about with how cheap these flights are. Zach, how can you get the best deal on these flights?
The best deal is just to make sure you are searching for both one-ways and then comparing it to the round trip. So you always have to make sure you're looking at the destinations one way and then putting it back in no matter what you're on, Expedia or Orbitz, and then looking at it round trip too.
Zach Richter, thank you so much. There's a lot going on in the world of crypto, so we're due for an update. For starters, non-fungible tokens, also known as NFTs, reached a trading volume of nearly $17 billion, but Annie Claff is going to tell us why they're now worthless since 2021.
Yeah, so when it comes after being worth $17 billion, and now a team of researchers at DAP Gamble created a report that showed 95% of NFTs are not worth a penny today. Now, this is because projects that lack clear uses tend to be more difficult to market and sell. Researchers say that these NFT assets could bounce back if given a specific function, but reaching those numbers is not that it had in 2021 is unlikely. While NFTs are seen as worthless now, cryptocurrency trading itself is also down 15% since its high in 2021. However, Bitcoin is up just over 2% in the last 5 days and has been trading in a tight range that hasn't reached its high in a year. When we don't see Bitcoin in a bull run, meaning that it shoots up in price, that's because there aren't a lot of retailers or institutions entering the market. Currently, the market hasn't seen a lot of new entrants or exits, which is why it's been in the tight range. There's some potential for Bitcoin's price to shoot up soon, though. On an international spectrum, the UK branch of the banking giant Chase is making some changes. Come October 16th, the UK bank will no longer accept crypto transactions because of concerns with fraud and scams. A Chase UK spokesperson said, quote, "We've seen an increase in the number of crypto scams targeting the UK consumers, so we have taken the decision to prevent the purchase of crypto assets on a Chase debit card or by transferring money to a crypto site from a Chase account," end quote. This comes at an interesting time with concerns for the future with the safety of crypto, as well as the safety with artificial intelligence. So definitely interesting times right now in technology and crypto. Peter, Bradley?
All right, Annie, so this would be a bad time for us to launch our CitrusTV NFT collection, I'd imagine?
That's what it sounds like, Peter. But Toys R Us, are they making a comeback? We'll tell you exactly what's going on the other side.
We get an opportunity to play the Clemson Tigers, and we enjoy that game.
Q's Countdown is live. We welcome you to a live edition of Q's Countdown.
Brand new year, time to right the wrong.
Welcome back. We're ending our show with a bit of a throwback, Peter. Toys R Us is making its return in time for the holidays. The iconic toy store is returning to Macy's locations across the country and opening over 20 new flagship stores. Keep in mind, the company filed for bankruptcy back in 2017, and its last 2 locations closed nearly 2 years ago.
What a remarkable return here. Toys R Us's parent company, WHP Global, increased the store's global footprint by more than 50% over the past couple years. This expansion will also bring stores to airports and cruise lines in an effort to keep up with the rise of travel retail.
So, Peter, I was thinking I wanted to get you a holiday gift. I might as well go to Toys R Us. What's one of the hottest toys right now? Barbies after the summer.
Yes.
So I said you look like Alan from the Barbie movie. He's one of a kind. He was a one-off, just like you. There you go. Merry Christmas.
Oh, thank you. Bradley, you are Knuff to me. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Your gift also is in the mail right now. I'll be getting it with you.
I'll be
for
waiting.
The holidays here. That's all the time we have for you today on Market Shares. Thank you so much for joining us through all the laughs today. That's Bradley Hoppenstein. I'm Peter Elliott. Remember to hold on to your wallets.